All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the SLCP Meetup. My name is Alex Blend. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We are going to be discussing outdoor spaces in our libraries. We're very happy that we have two guest speakers today. So they're going to be sharing, all the great things and sharing ideas of what they've been doing at their libraries and with their outdoor spaces. First up, we have Kristen Stroh, the Assistant Director of the Sachem Public Library, who's going to share with us what's going on at Sachem's outdoor spaces. Hey, Kristen, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. All right, so I'm gonna hit share screen, I guess, to get the thing up.
Yeah.
Okay. Home tab. All right, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so outdoor section is the very next one after getting started. It's section B. So the couple of things that we're going to talk about here, the methodology that we went through, you can take that with you throughout the entire process. So what you first want to do is see what it is that you are doing. Is there anything that you have that you can work with when you're trying to make something more sustainable? Look at your process. Currently, look at what you're working with, the practices, the systems you're working with. And is there anything that you can do? Maybe there's a small adjustment you can do right away to make it a little bit more efficient or greener or less toxic or something like that. Maybe it's just updating your practices. And then look at the larger scale and see what things might need to be budgeted for, planned out, look for grants, that kind of thing. So don't get overwhelmed. Just take everything a little bit by little bit. I was supposed to have my colleague Anthony Bliss with me today, but unfortunately he's not able to be here. But he is our facilities management person who he does all of that for us. And I will have his information at the end of the presentation. He helped work on the presentation as well. And if you have any specific questions on some of the more management style things that we're doing, then you can reach out to him as well. All right, so on to our first topic. The first topic is light pollution under outdoor spaces. So what you want to do is assess your exterior lights. First of all, what is light pollution? It's the human-made outdoor light levels. So it affects wildlife, it impacts our health, it wastes money and energy, and it contributes to climate change, and it blocks our view of the night sky. So you need to look at what you're working with, assess what you have, and then consider updating old fixtures. Now, some of us might not be in a position where we can update all of our exterior lighting or our parking lot lighting. So just take it a little bit at a time and see what you can do. Maybe you can have timers put in to your system that you currently have. Maybe you can just have them shut off or sections shut off at a time at night, so you're not having the whole parking lot lit up. Maybe you can have your indoor lights turned off at night. I know some of it, we can drive through past some different commercial properties and stuff like that, and you'll see lights on all the time. Well, if you could turn off your lights, you can help mitigate your electricity and mitigate the light pollution. So at Sachem, we were able to update our parking lot fixtures to LED a number of years ago to meet the current standards. So anytime that you're updating something, you want to look and see what would be, if there's standards, if there's, like the New York State does have a standard for light pollution. So our fixtures are under the standard for that. We recently updated our security, task, and accent lighting in our inside out garden and our entrance plaza. And the picture you see on the screen is of our entrance plaza. And as you can see, we have some task lighting, we have some accent lighting, we have some security and safety lighting, and we updated to LED And our little extra added feature is we can change the colors on some of them. As you see, it's lit up for purple here. Litter free is another component of outdoor spaces. So before we had joined the Sustainable Libraries Initiative, we only had trash cans outside in our outdoor areas. So we recently added the recycling cans to our outdoor areas as well. And then we partnered with a local agency called One Earth Deposits, and they collect our recyclables on a weekly basis because our refuse vendor does not collect. They don't collect recyclables for us, that kind anyway, the plastics. So we had to find another vendor that would do that with us. Native plants. So the picture you see on this slide is of a little bit later in the summer of last year when all these plants were in their glory. We have some black-eyed Susans, we have arborvitae, we have beach grass, maple, oak, and pine trees, purple coneflowers, and you see the purple coneflowers and the black-eyed Susans in this picture. We also have irises and birch trees. And we really worked hard to try to eliminate any kind of invasive plant that might be on our property that's not supposed to be here. So we have contracts with landscapers, and we use Aronica, which is a local company that does plant health, and they work with us to do organic treatments and then remove anything, if anything that is there that is growing that shouldn't be, to remove anything invasive. Moving on to planting areas, we use mulch around all of our beds. That's one of the things that they recommend you do to hold the water in and have it from running off. And something that we've integrated into our children's garden is an item called fiber. And it's used in our children's gardens because it is wheelchair accessible. You can ride the wheelchair over it and they won't get stuck in it. So you can take your strollers across it and such like that. It also, there's some standards for it. So the ASTM number is right there, and it meets a standard for engineered wood. So it's also less toxic than some of the other things. So we use that in our children's garden, and we've reduced and/or eliminated in some instances the use of chemical pesticides and herbicides as much as possible. Like I said, we use Aronica, so they're more of a organic health plan for your plants. And then we've also talked to our landscaper who went with more organic lawn feed instead of the stuff that has all the chemicals and junk in it. I realize that water is in another section farther down. Section, let's see, I think it's section F, I think, right? But it's kind of hard to talk about planting areas and such without touching on it a little bit, because there is that tie-in. You have all these planting areas, you have a lawn, you do need to water them. So we, a couple years ago, updated our irrigation system to have Wi-Fi controllers. And that way they can easily be changed according to the temperature, the amount of precipitation we've had, the humidity. And if we just go out there and see that everything looks, dry, or it looks pretty well, saturated, then we can change the amount of water that we do. We do have a groundskeeper here because we do have a lot of outdoor spaces, and we'll get to exactly what outdoor spaces we have a little farther on in the presentation. So he comes in and he will evaluate when he's here. He's here part-time, so the couple days a week that he's here, he will double check everything, because there is, that human component to go in and double check what the irrigation controllers are doing. Reduce non-porous areas. We have many areas of lawns and planting. We have a massive lawn in our inside out garden that you see in this picture. And we do lots of programming out in that space. We have garden beds all along the exterior of our parking lot, where we have plants and we have mulch in there. We even have some garden beds in little islands in our parking lot. So that adds to shade out there, and it's not all paved over the entire area. We have, like I said, garden beds in our inside out area and that center lawn. And then we have a Discovery Grove, which is our children's garden, which we have some garden beds in there and a small lawn in the center for like story times and things. And then planting trees. Like I said, we've planted trees all around the perimeter of the parking lot. And we make sure that if we do have to remove something because it's dead or it's diseased or something, that we try to plant something back in its place. Pollinators, they've been in the news a lot. It's been something that everybody's been talking about. We recently planted a pollinator garden in the spring of 2024 in our inside out garden, and you see a picture of the garden bed where we planted that. We had partnered with the outdoor vendor to bring in and teach a program where the kids planted that. And then we do have what we call Garden Guardians, which is teen volunteer program, where they can get community service hours for coming into the garden and helping us work the garden and treat everything and weed and remove things, plant things as the season goes. And there's a link to the pollinator pathway down below. I also linked up the entire presentation in the chat. So if you need to click back on anything or reference it, that's the whole presentation is in the chat. We also participated for the last 3 years in No Mow May, where you designate a section of your lawn and you don't obviously mow for the beginning of the season. That one's pretty self-explanatory. When we bought signs that we could put up in there so that we can designate that area. It's like, no, we're not being lazy. We're really sectioning this off for a purpose, and we're not mowing for a reason, so that it's visible to the patrons as well as the staff. Outdoor program spaces. We are very fortunate here that we have a lot of area to work with outside. So this is our the picture over here to the left is a picture of our outdoor classroom. And see if I can click onto that. This is our website for Inside Out, which is our outdoor garden space. Inside Out is registered as a public garden with the American Public Garden Association. And these are some of the programs that we've done out there. You can see the center lawn. There was a drumming circle one year. We've done summer reading club kickoffs with bouncy houses and painting. We've had farms come and bring their animals. We do the concerts out there. And then when the seasons start to change, we do a couple of outdoor things with lights. So this is our Garden of Lights that we do in December that you're seeing on the screen. And then below that, we have a haunted garden where we set up displays of spooky things, and we have patrons come through on certain evenings in the month of October, and the other ones run in December. All right, so let's see if I can get back to. And this young man is in our outdoor classroom children's garden called Discovery Grove. Let's see if I can click on that. So our Discovery Grove classroom is registered as an outdoor classroom through Nature Explorer. So if this is something you're interested in doing, Nature Explorer is where we went through. It has different sections, and here are some of the features: different water play, digging, music, art. There's several different components, and some of them are required in order to be registered in outdoor classroom, and some of them you can like mix and match. Like you could do X many out of, or however many suggestions they have. But we have a water play table in there for the kids. And here you can kind of see what I was talking about. This is the 5R. We have a music area where we have some outdoor xylophone and some drums. We have the outdoor building blocks for the kids. Mud kitchen, that was a more recent addition. They love pretend cooking and baking in there. We have a digging section where those everything gets well loved in there. They have a lot of fun in there. We have some art areas in there and some paintbrushes. And then we have that big rock where you can climb, and we have some of these uh, faux logs and stepping stones that they can learn to climb and play in a safe environment. And then we do have some garden areas in there as well, and we run some programs in there. I think we've done like a pizza kit where they grew like all the herbs and stuff to make a pizza. Let's see. And then this is another concert we did in our parking lot. We've shut off sections of that too to have some outdoor concerts in there. So if you don't have the amount of outdoor space that we do, you can always look to doing that is sectioning off a part of your parking lot for a big event. Let's see. And getting into more programs, here are some more views of some of the things that we have outside. So we've done some of the different programming we've done is, like I talked about, the pizza garden. We have a water feature here on the left-hand side. I believe that was a program, how to build water features in your garden. We have the seed starting program where families will come in and they'll start to plant little seeds in little containers, and then we'll house them in the library under lights so that they start to germinate. And then we will have a planting day, and that's what you see in the second picture of our garden beds, where families will come out and help plant in the garden. And then that is a better view on the right hand side of our pollinator garden. So it makes a nice big C shape there of all local plants that are conducive to pollinators. So this is a look at the usage of our outdoor spaces from 2021 through last year. So every year we see an increase in the amount of usage out there. Sometimes people just come just to be in the space. We'll see people walking out there early in the morning. People come in, and we'll have painters that just come in and bring their easels and just paint in our garden. So we have lots of stuff going on that aren't even sanctioned programs in there. So it's lots of fun. The staff goes out there for their lunch breaks and things. And then we've recently added a site management plan, which is also in this section. And bring that up. So it just goes through all of the different things that we're doing currently in all different aspects, not even just the outdoor. So you can see indoor spaces, consumption. This is really like a one-stop shop for all of the different things that we're doing. And then we have our policies at the end of it, all the different policies that we've implemented after joining the sustainability policy, the sustainability initiative. Some of them are required as you go through the certification process, and others are things we've just updated. All right. Moving on. Future projects. So you're never really done when you're in the sustainable initiative. There's always things you can think of to do and make better. So these are some things that we're planning for the future that we have not gotten to yet. So we have several areas around the building where the drainage isn't that great. So we plan to rehabilitate these areas and turn them into rain gardens with natural drainage and native plants. And this is an example of what one of them can look like, and something that we'll be trying to emulate when we update those areas. And then we're also looking at ways to collect rainwater and then use that to help offset the irrigation. So that is something that we're hoping to get going on this season. But we'll see. Conclusion. So we have a lot of areas in the library. That's our front lawn on that picture. And again, here's a picture of the FIBAR in the children's garden. Our spaces are used probably about 9 to 10 months out of the year, depending on the weather. So we really have a commitment to keeping these areas beautiful and, being as best stewards we can for these areas, using the most sustainable practices, greening, our techniques and what we're doing and how we're using the spaces. We want to keep them safe for our human patrons and also our wildlife neighbors. We have lots of birds and squirrels and all kinds of things in there. We actually set up some bird feeders with cameras out there as well, and we put that on a feed. We've had butterfly releases in our children's garden. So we're really committed to teaching people and getting back into nature. Does anybody have any questions? And here's a list of the resources of different things that I've touched upon, like Dark Sky. Long Island Natives has a list of plants that are native in the area. No Mo May, that one, Bee City, that talks about the reasoning for the No Mo May and that kind of stuff. And then those are the websites the pages that I took to you on our website are listed here as well. And then the Nature Explorer is also there. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Then thank you very much. And our contact information is here. And like I said, Anthony, who's our facilities manager, that's his contact information as well. If you have something specific to ask about, like the irrigation system or the lighting or anything like that.
Thank you so much, Kristen. That was a really great and thorough presentation. I actually just yesterday sent somebody a link to your site, the Sachem site management plan, because they were looking for some examples of that. So I did use that just yesterday. And I also I love the using the teen volunteers to manage the garden. That's really cool. And I saw Catherine had a question about the 5R ADA compliant material.
Sure, I can get your link and put it in the chat.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much. All right, so we will move on to our second guest speaker. We have Joanne Gabriel, adult programmer from the Darien Library in Connecticut. Hello, Joanne. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Very impressed with Sachem. Am I saying that right? Your library and your outdoor spaces are magnificent, and everything, all your programming that you're doing is wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move on to, let me share this first. Hopefully I can get this. Is that working?
Yep, you got it.
All right, so I'm Joanne Gabriel, and today I'm going to be representing Darien Library in Darien, Connecticut, and I'm going to be showing you our outdoor spaces in regard to the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. Okay, so this is our library. It's established in 1894, not at this location, but it was a new library was built and was completed in January of 2009. So it's about 15 years old. We're located at 1441 Post Road, which is otherwise known as US 1. So this is the type of road which is a very trafficked road. Sometimes we get traffic during rush hour. And this road goes through the middle of our town, actually. This side of the library that you're looking at is actually not used as much by patrons. The other side of the library is where we have our parking lot, and there is a separate entrance that gets used a little bit more. Okay, so as you walk up on this side, there's some nice paths, and we also do a fair bit of mulching on our property to keep in water retention and sort of manage weed control. We have a bike rack on this side, and also we have a bike rack on our other side. We have a mixture of evergreen, low-lying shrubs, some herbaceous plants like lilies and irises. I'm not sure if they are native or not, but they are part of the plan. Let's see. And this is a view of the library looking down at the street, and that's US 1. There's some lovely, these are on the right-hand side, you'll see lovely northern red oaks. which are native species that line the street. And there's a bus stop, which conveniently stops right in front of our library. And let's see. Okay, so as you're walking up towards this entrance, I'm going to point out 2 garden beds that are to the left of the building, and they've had a few other lives. At one point, I think they even contained vegetables, but at this point, they're a cutting garden. And it's been a lovely addition for our patrons. And during the growing season, the garden starts with daffodils that come up in March, followed by peonies. Right about now, we're just finishing those up. And then further in the season, we have zinnias and some cosmos. And this whole idea of horticultural therapy, of bringing the idea of bringing nature indoors is a wonderful idea that we embrace here at the library. Okay, so here's daffodils. That's the first thing that comes up. And these are cut and put into vases throughout the library during the growing season. And they are truly loved by our staff and patrons alike. There are even cut flowers in our restrooms. And there isn't a day that someone makes a comment about them. So it's a really successful sort of mini program. Okay, the cutting garden, I just want to talk about the advantages of a cutting garden and horticultural therapy. It includes sensory pleasure, stress reduction, improved mood and cognitive function, and opportunities for social interaction and skill development. The flowers always put a smile on our patrons' faces, and they always spark a conversation about flowers. They spark a conversation about gardening and even the weather. The cutting garden is managed by our former head of Readers Advisory, who now works at the library in a part-time capacity. And this is something that she also truly enjoys doing throughout the spring and summer. There is a hose on that side of the building, so the beds do get watered. We did talk, this has not happened, but there is the possibility of putting sort of a rain barrel in, but we haven't gotten there yet on that. And at the end of the season, the beds are cleared, but the bulbs stay as they come up every year. We've tried tulips in the past, but unfortunately there's deer pressure. So we try to stick to flowers that we think will be successful there and won't get eaten by deers. And I want to just have this image here. This is the cutting garden in late summer with zinnias and cosmos, and it's frequented by monarch butterflies. And speaking of monarch butterflies, we are in the process of applying to become a monarch way station with monarchwatch.org. So in order to do that, we'll be adding more plants on our back beds in the back of the building, which I'm going to show you shortly. Okay, and I just wanted to mention this. I took a couple of horticultural therapy classes at NYBJ. I'm also a 2018 Yukon Advanced Master Gardener. And I just wanted to mention this biophilia concept, which basically states that humans have a natural and inborn affinity to or attraction to nature. And this is basically our DNA. The biophilia hypothesis is that the belief that humans are actually genetically predisposed to be attracted to nature. This idea that we are drawn to and need nature was first put forth by a man, Edward O. Wilson, in his book Biophilia, published in 1984. And as humans become more and more detached from the natural world, it is imperative that we offer a type of natural green space for them. So this is just right along the lines of the sustainability's initiative and goals. Okay. This is the backside of the building, and it's looking at our library from the parking lot. So patrons walk up to the courtyard area, which is the area that you see on sort of right in front and to the right. The courtyard area is flanked by honey locust trees. We have a lot of outdoor programming there. And actually, this is sort of the entrance that most people use to get into the library. And turning around, if you look from the door out, that is our parking lot. So we have a limited amount of green space. We have a parking lot and we have a lot of trees on the parking medians, but we are limited in our outdoor green space. But what we have, we try to make use with natives as much as possible. Okay, so this is the view of our parking medians. I think that's what they're called. They have native grasses growing. So that's Pennsylvania sedge. I think there's big blue stem in there and maybe little blue stem. And every parking median in the parking lot has this type of growing situation. It's very naturalized. And that big pot you see in the foreground, there's actually a few of them. That's going to be cosmos flowers, and these pots are being managed and grown by another librarian who got the seeds from our seed library. This is our big water feature, and this is wonderful and very calming and soothing and contemplative. And it runs from basically, I think, April to October. It's very welcoming, and that's been a wonderful aspect of the new library. Okay, now I'm going to talk about one of the sections in the task list, which is B9, storm drains and runoff water. So we have a what we call a bioswale, and it was built when the building was built back in 2009, and it captures all the runoff from the building and the parking lot and all the impervious surfaces. And believe it or not, when you have a major rain event, and there have been a few, as we all know, the bioswale actually becomes full, the whole thing, and that's 12 feet deep. There's a lot of native plants in the bioswale. All of them either tolerate or like wet conditions. So that means river birches, more grasses, red twig dogwood. These are all plants that do well in wet conditions. Okay, now we're going to talk about invasives, which is not my favorite thing to talk about, but it's something that everyone has to deal with, and it's just part of life now. So like everyone else, there are invasives that find their way onto our property. And our biggest culprits, I just took a walk the other day, and our biggest culprits of invasives are mugwort, which you see there in the front, porcelainberry, and Japanese knotweed. This year, unfortunately, I've also seen swallowwort, which is a sort of, I think it's also called dog strangling vine. And that's concerning because even though that plant is in the milkweed family, it comes from Europe, and it tricks monarch butterflies into thinking it's real milkweed, and they lay their eggs on them, but it's not able to sustain the caterpillars, and they all usually die. As far as invasive management, there's a landscaping crew that comes periodically to pull invasives, not cut them back. But as you know, invasives are invasive because they can grow in almost any condition, and they crowd out the natives. So this is something that has to be managed all the time, basically. Okay, now let's move on to happier plants, which would be natives, and I think that's B5. There's some amazing natives growing on our property. Again, this is one of the medians to the left. It's just grasses. And what's really lovely is when you go out this time of year, you can just hear already all the insects buzzing and crickets, making their little noises, and the birds and the bird song. It's just, it's a really wonderful sound, and it's very calming, and I love that. So we have some great natives growing on the property. We have river birches and red buds that line the parking lot. In the front here, you'll see, I think that's a type of maple, probably a red maple in the front. And then further back, you'll see the bark that's sort of shaggy. That's a river birch. And of course, I mentioned the northern red oaks in front. That's a super important tree as far as being a keystone tree. If anyone follows Doug Tallamy, that's one of, I think his is the white oak, but all the oaks in general sustain a large amount of caterpillars, and that's a really important thing for the food web. Okay, so these are more of the natives that we have. Redbud, Amelanchier. The last picture, there's a picture of me here holding these. That's an Amelanchier tree on the right, And those berries are loved by birds, and they're actually edible. You could eat them ourselves. I have tried them before. They're delicious. Let's see, redbud, amelanchier, river birch, northern red oak, red twig dogwood, Pennsylvania sedge, big blue stem, and there's probably some more that I'm missing in this list here. As far as herbaceous plants, we have a few beds in the back that are natives, and they include milkweed, Joe Pye weed, senna, New York ironweed, native yarrow, and goldenrod. On the right, you'll see a lot of lance leaf goldenrod, that looks like. I need to renovate that bed because some of the natives have taken over and sort of crowded out other natives, but that's a job for next month, I think. And here's a screenshot of all the natives in this back bed, and it's kind of exciting. So the one on the left, that looks, that looks like an invasive, but it's actually senna. It has these beautiful yellow flowers that bloom in July, and you get bees all over it, and when it blooms. The middle is butterfly weed. That's gonna have beautiful orange flowers. On the right, on the top, is purple coneflower, which is so fun and beautiful, and a lot of bees pollinate it. I've got mountain mint on the bottom left. In the middle, maybe that's hardy azuretum. I'm not 100% sure. And then on the right, the white flowers are native yarrow. And one thing I'm thinking about doing is planting some native yarrow in where the mugwort is growing in the bioswale, because the native yarrow is very bossy and might be able to compete with the mugwort. That's going to be a experiment that I hope that I can do. And then I just have to show this picture again of the monarch because it's so beautiful and it's just so it's so happy. Okay, and this is a pot I'm experimenting with. It's not really beautiful right now, but these are all natives. This pot is growing in a north corner, no sunlight whatsoever, but this is the beauty of natives, and they can grow in so many different conditions because they're meant to be in, in our neck of the woods, basically. I'm hoping that this will be a nice display later. It's got anise hyssop, hardy azuretum, and native yarrow. So hopefully by July, they will, that'll be a nice pot for everyone to enjoy. This is our seed library. The seed library helps with the plants outdoors. We use the seeds from the library to plant in some of the pots. Patrons use the seed library daily. It is very popular. I'm running out of seeds right now. And we have a native section, which is on the right-hand side there, and a nectar section. I don't have as many nectar plants, but the native section would be all the plants that are native to this area. And the nectars would be that caterpillars would use, and the nectars would be, sort of when you have a monarch that is turned into a butterfly, the flowers that the butterfly would feed on as an adult. So great nectars in the front would be zinnias and cosmos. And I think that's it on that. And then also I just wanted to say, if anyone has any master gardeners in your neck of the woods, they are such an amazing resource. And here at the library, we host a plant clinic with Yukon master gardeners every Friday until the end of July. So patrons bring their dilemmas, their problems, they can get design advice, anything. So it's just it's sort of a great way to meet fellow gardeners and keep that native plant conversation going. And then finally, I'm just going to talk about assessing for light pollution. So last year, we joined the Lights Out CT Pledge, and that is to minimize all non-essential lights from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. and make seasonal lighting changes during peak spring and fall migration, which is April 1st to May 31st and August 15th through November 15th. And I think that's it for Darien Library.
Thank you so much, Joanne. That was awesome. I really like the the cutting garden and the water feature. It seems like you have such, nice peaceful, spots outdoors, for the patrons and for staff. That's really, really great, really great. Does anybody have any questions for Joanne or any comments or anything? Feel free to unmute or throw it in the chat. I'll read it out aloud.
Thank you
We'll
for the love.
Yeah, we'll definitely get the recording of this on the website, and we'll get the slides up as well, so people can refer back to them afterwards. And there was some links that were shared as for resources, so we'll add those as well. Yeah, a lot of love in the chat for both of our guests speakers today. So thank you both for sharing. Um, does anybody have anything else regarding the outdoor spaces that they'd like to share, or have any questions or anything that they want to talk about?
I had a quick question, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
So, hi, thank you both for that presentation. That was wonderful. I am a lowly intern at my libraries right now with a sustainability mindset, and I'm trying to get some buy-in from my management about outdoor spaces, specifically just trying to get the inertia started, just since these are pretty long projects and pretty labor intensive and all encompassing. And so I was wondering if anyone had any tips about how to get people excited, make it seem not as daunting, and get some buy-in from people that maybe aren't as enthusiastic right now.
I would say start small. Start small and work your way up. And as those smaller projects seem to gain momentum, then you can use that as a way to get buy-in and to say, see how much our patrons are enjoying this and liking that. And then we need to get more and more space. We need to do this. We need to do that.
I was just going to say, start small. You could
Mhm.
start if you wanted to start with something like a native bed. You can make it very cost effective. If you reach out to any of the master gardeners, they really want to share their knowledge, and they're all about natives. So you could start a bed. It could be a project where you just dig in an area, put in, make the soil sort of amendable for native plants. But most native plants are, they don't need a lot of requirements, and they don't even need a lot of water even, because they're meant for this area. Start small. Try to think about succession of bloom. So that would be things that bloom in April, then May, then June, July, and August. And you'll see immediately the pollinators come to your flowers. It's amazing. It's Mother Nature at her finest. So I definitely start small, and I can walk you through if you ever want ideas about native plants to use in such a garden.
Thank you both so much. I will definitely reach out. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We have a hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. We're in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, and we are actually in the middle of an expansion and renovation program. So there's a lot of things that we've done or had done even previously that really were in place, but not necessarily through like a formal plan. So that's kind of one of the things that I'll be working on, because we do have native prairies, and I worked with the Eagle Scout last year, and they created like a pollinator garden for us. And so there's a lot of things that that we'll have, and also like a retention pond in our parking lot and all of these things. But in terms of like an actual site management plan, we obviously have site plans as part of as part of this greater project, and we'll include that. But I'm just wondering, as we're working through it, because there's so much, as you can imagine, with this facilities project for us to be doing and thinking about. So as I think about creating a site management plan, I'm thinking putting together what we already have in place, what we've already established as our goals for this project, and starting with that as the basis for our plan. And then within the plan, I almost think that I would include what the future plan should include. Because I think this is going to be in total almost a 2-year project by the time we're done. We're coming up to a year when the addition will be done, and then we're starting renovation. And, we've got geothermal HVAC, we've got a microgrid system. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're going to be able to say we've accomplished, but we have to, now it seems like, even though it was formalized for the project, it's got to be formalized for the future. So do you think that's a good approach to kind of take what we have already in place for the foundation for our site management plan as it is today, and then build upon that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we started our process. Like you start where you are, you work with what you have, and then you plan out ahead. Because like you said, amazing that you're able to do all those wonderful projects. Good luck, congratulations on that. But yeah, and then you kind of be like, this is what we want to accomplish. This is the smaller things we can do. This is what we're already doing. And I feel like the site management plan kind of also becomes like a living, breathing document. It can kind of continues to evolve as you evolve and complete things. You can mark in there, we completed this at such and such a date, and then our next things are moving on. But it acts as a compass, I think, for where you're going in the future.
Yeah.
So,
okay. And I know that on the action item form, there are a few, there were a couple of site management plans in there. And I think some of them are probably more robust than others. And I don't know, is the Sachem Public Libraries one of the examples that are in there as well?
I don't think so, but I can link it in here. It is linked in the presentation. Yeah,
okay,
it's the
that's
live
fine.
link in there, but I can drop the link in here too if you want.
Oh, okay. Either way, I have the link to the presentation. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and I can, also, like I said, somebody just yesterday asked about site management plan. So I sent them a bunch of examples. So I'm happy to, do that as well. I could shoot you an email with a couple of different examples from other libraries, and you can kind of, see, what works for you.
That sounds good. I think just because of the overwhelmingness that we're feeling right now with everything else going on, we'll probably want to start out with something that's on the simpler side, and then be able to build from that.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about outdoor spaces, or anything anyone else would like to share before we sign off for the day? All right. Well, I just want to say thank you to Kristen and Joanne again for sharing your great, wonderful presentations. A lot, definitely took away a lot from your presentations. I made some notes. Thank you again, and thank you everyone for your questions and comments. And we'll see you on next month for indoor spaces. Thanks again, and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.